I started the system when I had diabetes, high blood sugars, all of that, arthritis, everything. This was me about 1 year in. I was able to like finally say, okay, I can get rid of that cane and that walker. Can barely see it, but there's disability plates on my car. I was like, yay, I have my life back. This was me about 1.5 years in, starting to lift again. I've had so much go on. I'm going to be starting to lift again now because I love lifting. Um, would I have been able to do all of that when I was still sick? No, I could barely walk. I was in so much pain that I just couldn't live my life. So, this going from this to this is reversing my insulin resistance. Not being able to walk, having a walker and a cane, having disability plates, being unable to go up and down stairs, or being crabby crying, whatever, when I was faced with stairs because it was so painful. Not because I was lazy, because it was painful. Going from that to I carry packages up and down stairs without a handrail and without pain now at almost 60. How? The system that I use, that's how. So let's talk about what insulin resistance is, because we need to understand that. So insulin resistance, we're going to talk about insulin first. Insulin is a hormone, number one. Let's understand that. So insulin is a hormone, and its job is to transport energy. So some people call it the fat storing hormone, and in part that's true, and we're going to get to that. But insulin's job really is to take the energy from the blood, which is your glucose, and deliver it to every cell in the body, because every cell in the body needs energy. So that's insulin's job. We're clear on that. Now, one thing before I get too far into this, I want you to understand is insulin has a counterpart called glucagon. Glucagon they're like yin and yang. Insulin is a saver, glucagon is a spender. Insulin takes precedence because your body wants to preserve itself. It's not going to let you spend more energy than you have. It's going to pay attention to insulin more than glucagon because your body needs energy. So it's going to save that energy. That's insulin glucagon. This is the basis of your metabolic health. Now, how do we get to insulin resistance? Well, when we're eating all the time and we're eating food that's imperfect, it's causing this. And how? Because every time we eat and glucose gets created in our body, because we're breaking down from our mouth to our butt, we're breaking down that food we eat. And the primary objective is to get energy and nutrients into our body. So as that breaks down, in the absence of things like the fiber I've been talking about, it breaks down too quickly. Now our bloodstream gets overloaded with glucose or sugar, even from apples, oranges, fruits, vegetables, but yes, most specifically from sugars and breads and all of that. But our body is being overloaded by sugar. So when the sugar goes up in your blood, your body will cue your pancreas to produce insulin that comes out to grab this sugar and now start to deliver it to the body as energy. That's all good, right? That's great. We should have that. But what happens is, I'm going to give you an analogy, and it's a new one for me, but let's talk about, like, say you lived in an apartment building and you have a neighbor, like I have a neighbors, these sweet old ladies, and they're just so beautiful and kind. And anytime they knock on my door, I would open the door for them. But that's one type of neighbor. That's what insulin should be, is that neighbor that's very helpful, that you want to see, and you want what they're bringing to your door. But when insulin is out of control because it's delivering sugar all the time, it's always at your door, bringing this energy, always bringing this energy. Now it becomes like a gang of college kids running amok throughout the halls of your apartment building, knocking on everybody's doors, pulling pranks, like wanting in your house. Would you open the door for this gang of college kids that you don't know when they're knocking on your door constantly? No, you're going to lock your door and you're going to say, I'm not going to let you in because I don't know what you're doing and I'm a little bit overwhelmed by you. That's what your cells are doing with insulin. They're overwhelmed by insulin knocking on their door all the time. So now those receptors for insulin start to slow down and they're like, nope, not letting you in. I might need you, but you're scaring me right now because there's so much of you out there and it's all the time. And so I don't know what to do. So I'm just going to shut down. That's insulin resistance. When you have too much insulin spurned from too much sugar, and now it's causing this dysfunction in your body. So what happens when your cells aren't getting energy? Well, your muscles start to deplete. So you have less muscle tissue. You have less bone tissue. You have less of the synovial fluid in your joints. You have less function in all of your joints and all of your body. So one brilliant doctor put it like this. Diabetes is insulin resistance of the liver. Heart disease is insulin resistance of the heart. Anxiety, depression, Alzheimer's are insulin resistance of the brain. Insulin resistance affects every part of your body, and where it affects is where you start to see disorder and disease start to crop up. So when we have too much sugar, too much food all the time, we're having this disorder, this problem in our system. And the cue is to stop eating so much, to stop spiking our blood sugars, and to get that insulin under control. One of the doctors I listened to was talking about it in this way. So if we took a look at our insulin levels, you would think, because insulin does such an amazing job, the bigger the better, right? That's kind of our mentality, and that's not true. With insulin, we want just enough, just enough. So the lower the better, unless you're type 1 diabetic, which means your pancreas can't produce insulin. Now you're type 1 diabetic, now you have all kinds of other problems. But the less insulin in your system, the better you are. You need just enough to deal with the sugars that are there, which means we've got to get those sugars down so our cells can open up and be receptive of the insulin bringing them energy. Now, a couple of things happen. When you're insulin resistant and your cells aren't taking up the energy, it still has to deliver that energy somewhere. So these cells are all locked up and they're like, I'm not having it. I'm not taking you in anymore. Now what happens? Now what happens is the insulin starts to deliver it to your storage unit. Does anybody take a guess as to what your storage unit is? Because that's where all this excess energy is going. That storage unit is your fat cells. So interesting, though, while we're talking about fat, that everybody has a different metabolic set point. Some people can get obese and not have indicators of metabolic disorder and be fine. Some people can be very thin and already internally have this fat disorder where they're metabolically unhealthy and they're starting to have all of these same problems, but not outwardly be obese. And I've known a number of people across my life that I was like, how could they be so sick? Because they looked thin and they looked healthy on the outside. We've got to stop equating weight to health. Now, if you're morbidly obese, yeah, let's be real. We need to equate that to that's unhealthy. But if somebody's thick or a little bit obese, that may not mean that they're unhealthy. They may just be more healthy internally than the next person standing to them that's thin. You don't know. That outward appearance does not tell you somebody's metabolic health. So we've got to stop the fat shaming and the fat madness as well. All right. So how are you being lied to? The food pyramid is part of the problem, right? When we look at this food pyramid and there was grains and there was all of these carbohydrate things, that was supposed to make up the bulk of your day. That's where we're being lied to. We need to flip that over and we need to start focusing on proteins and fats as what the bulk of our food should be. That's what's going to get us more healthy. Does it mean you can't have those things? Well, for most people, no. For some people, it may mean you need to get off of those things entirely for a while or primarily for a while so that your body can heal up, because you may be so addicted to it that it's causing problems for you and that we have to take further steps. Most people are going to be able to achieve their reversal of this insulin resistance by watching their diet, by adding back in the fibers. We're going to talk about the 6 simple steps, by watching your diet, and by doing some intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting would be 16 hours not eating, 8 hours eating window. Not this every 2 hours eating thing that's going on that's continually spiking your blood sugar. Okay, so intermittent fasting works amazing because it's allowing that insulin to calm down, to become that kind old lady bringing you gifts instead of that gang of college kids running amok. Okay, so insulin starts to calm down when you stop creating the need for insulin all the time. On your plate, what it looks like is, and you guys ask questions if you have them. Please, please ask questions, because I'm not here just to bark stuff at you. I really love to answer when you guys have questions. But somebody asked earlier, well, what does that look like for food? And what I like to say is the reason I love the system I do is it makes it sustainable. People will always hop on and say carnivore, or they'll hop on and they'll say vegetarianism. They'll whatever. You guys, if that works for you and your specific body, amazing. But it doesn't work for everybody. Let's be honest. A carnivore diet does not work for every single person. So what my aim is to help people find what's sustainable and what's realistic so that you can get where you need to be with your metabolic health and stick with it. Because you can do carnivore for a month, but if you're not able to do it for life, it's not going to help you in the long run. What we need to do is find that thing that works for you in the long run so that you can maintain this health and longevity throughout your life and stay healthy as you age. I'm healthier now at 60 than I was at 50 or almost 60. I keep saying 60. Yeah. See, look, I'm claiming 60 already. It's about a month and a half away, but I'm claiming it already because I feel good. 2 years ago, I would have been like, oh no, I'm going to be 60. It's the end of my world. No, it's not the end of my world anymore. It's just like the beginning. I'm just starting to get to this place where I understand life really well. Now I have the energy and the physical strength to get through it. It's a pretty good place to be. So metabolism matters and fasting matters. Tuesday night, I will have a doctor come on who created this program where it's a little bit more intense fasting. I'm going to be doing this 48 hours once a week fast for a couple of months to try and get the last of my metabolism boosted. Anyone who wants to join me, message me. We'll go over it. I'm going to be talking with him every Tuesday night at about 8 o'clock. I got to confirm that with him. We had some confusion yesterday. We have it set, but I think he forgot. So we're going to be bringing this doctor on who's going to talk to us about metabolic health and some up-leveled methods that those of you who are struggling and not getting results can start to put into place to help you get all of this back in order. Okay, so I see the thing up here. I almost got shut down early on in this live. Where you're being lied to is that the food industry is teaching you to eat carbohydrates. So when you look at this Dr. Ovadia, heart surgeon, Stay Off My Operating Table is the book. He was talking about how he had a patient who had some heart problems. He went in the next morning to check up on the heart patient. The heart patient had breakfast sitting there, and it was like low carb waffles, low carb this, but it was all grains and it was all stuff that's actually still going to spike his blood sugar. And Dr. Ovadia is like, well, no wonder you're having a problem. We all think that way. What we need to be paying attention to is fiber, protein, and fats. Fiber, protein, and fats. Put carbohydrates in there at the very end as a treat, as just whatever I want. But if you're looking for health, those are the three things you need to pay attention to: fiber, protein, and fats. Fiber to slow down the blood glucose delivery and the lipid delivery into your system. Protein because you need those building blocks. It's going to help your metabolism. You can exercise your butt off. If you're not getting enough protein in, you're not going to build muscle and you're not going to build your metabolism. Protein, just like insulin, has a break point though. If you're just pumping 300 grams of protein into your system thinking, ooh, the bigger the better, it's not that way. The more you have excess protein that your body's not using, it's going to store that excess protein as fat, or it's just going to excrete it, putting a bigger load on your kidneys. So it's important to get the right amount of protein, but I don't want to make it complicated. You should get in about a gram of protein for every pound of body fat. Now, if you're 400 pounds, am I going to tell you to get in 300 to 400 grams of protein? No. I'm going to tell you to look for a set point in your system, maybe 250 pounds, maybe 200 pounds, and start getting in at least that amount of protein and move your body. Exercise is important, but exercise can't outwork a poor diet. So again, where we're being lied to is when they do the calories in, calories out, eat less, restrict your calories, exercise more, that's not the clue. Okay, so what we need to do is, yes, move our bodies, get exercise. 20 to 30% of our body is made up of musculoskeletal tissue that loves to take insulin in as an energy source. So it opens those cells up to being receptive to energy. In that way, it's good. But when we look at exercise as burning calories, well, if you have a really intense workout session for about an hour, maybe you burn 200 calories, but now you're hungry because you boosted up your hunger, and you go out and you eat 600 to 800 calories. This is according to Dr. Ovadia. Now you've eaten more than you burnt because you worked so hard that your body's saying, I need more energy. We want to move our body and become more insulin sensitive, but it doesn't take insane workouts to get there. Okay, weight-bearing exercise is important, but if you're going to do weight-bearing exercise, you need that protein for it to be utilized in your body and not to start stripping down your muscle because you're overworking it. So fiber to regulate the blood sugars, to regulate the lipids, protein to help your metabolism. Proteins also help you feel fuller longer. If you guys would wake up and start having, if all of us, me too, wake up and start having things like eggs and protein in the morning, we're going to find that we stay fuller longer. We're going to find that we feel better throughout the day, that we're going to find that we're thinking about food less throughout the day, that our day just goes much easier because we're satiated. We have the building blocks that we need in our body, and our body's like, ooh, I can work with this. I'm going to go do the job I need to do today. And then you follow the proteins with fats, because fats always need to be paired with protein. Fats are not making you fat. Fats are not causing your heart disease. Fats are not causing all that problem that they once were blamed for. However, the type of fat that you eat does matter. So the seed oils and the canola oils and the vegetable oils, there's enough evidence out there from doctors like Dr. Bickman, who's a metabolic scientist, that says that there is a number of components with those oils that are causing you to be more insulin resistant, that I want to avoid those. Plus, those seed oils are high in omega 6s, and too much of those can cause inflammation and problems in the body. Omega 3s found in fish, you want those. But the fats that I focus on are coconut oil, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, butter, ghee, and animal fats. Those have helped my heart become healthier. Amazing, right? Things that we were all told were going to cause our heart problems have made my heart healthier and less cholesterol problems than ever in my life. And I eat real fat. I don't have any of those other fats in my house at all. Won't allow them in my house because they're sickness factories, in my opinion. Okay, so we're being told to have those fats. Like 50 years ago, they started talking about margarine, a manufactured fat, that was going to help the cholesterol levels. And yet we started getting sicker. Yet we started having more metabolic disorder when we switched to all that stuff. When people started taking the yolks out of their eggs, we started getting sicker. Stop the madness. You guys, if nature created it, that like the yolks and the eggs, they're complementary. The white and the yolk work together. We need the whole thing. So stop taking the yolks out of your egg. That's not causing a cholesterol problem. The sugar is causing the cholesterol problem. The grains are causing the cholesterol problem. Those are what's really causing that buildup of negative fats in your system. Does anybody have questions? It's almost time for me to hop off, so I want to make sure that everybody's questions are answered before I do. And I'm glad I didn't get banned today. Wow, why is it, you guys, it's an interesting thing. I want to ask a question for those of you who are still on here. Why is it every time, not just me, but any of us start talking about the truths about our food being imperfect and what really takes to make us better, and how we've been lied to with the food industry and big pharma, that we get flagged for misinformation? Think about that before tomorrow when I come back. Think about why it is that they don't want you understanding how much importance there is in addressing the root cause of all of this, which is our food. We don't need all the medications to take care of it. Those aren't going to fix the problem. They're going to mask the problem. Those, what Dr. Ovadia said in his book, if I can, I probably won't quote this correctly, but as close as I can get, that the medications are, they're not making you better. They're extending your life of sickness, basically. So you're still sick. You still haven't fixed the problem, but they're extending your life a little bit to have those medications, but it's causing other problems. So instead of this, why don't we address this that's creating more health, that is addressing the problem, that is addressing why we're sick and helping us have a longer, better, more fulfilling life. I'm living testimony to that. I should not be walking right now, but we reversed that. I should have probably already had a heart attack. We reversed that. I mean, when I was having high blood pressure that was 180 over 150 at some point every day, and people are like, "No, you weren't. That couldn't be." Well, yeah, there's a reason why I was losing feeling in my right arm. There's a reason why I didn't have strength in there and I was having tingling and stuff, because that was an indicator that my heart was starting to fail. I'm extremely, extremely fortunate to be here today, to be able to talk about all this stuff and to help somebody else understand that this is not going to get you better. Addressing this and understanding the root cause of why you're sick is going to help you regain your health and have a healthier, stronger life so that you can be more present for your family and not be worried about being a burden. I know a person who it seems like every person in their family is continually sick, and it makes me sad. How are we so sick all the time that our lives are spent dealing with our sickness instead of enjoying our lives? It's because of this. It's not a lack of this. It's because of the lack of proper nutrients and proper food. Hey, Michelle. So levothyroxine and low thyroid. Let me do a more complete video. My headspace is not in that. And you guys, I'm not a scientist or a doctor. So in all truth, what I do is I go find the information from, I have like my desk is covered in books from Dr. Pels, Dr. Yao, Dr. Bickman, whatever. I have all this stuff. So I go find the information to give you a more complete answer. But what I can tell you is this. The system that I'm using, I had Hashimoto's and low thyroid, right? I'm not suffering from those. We are supplementing my thyroid because it's in normal range, but it still is just a little low, which is better than it ever was. For 40 years, it was never in normal range. I also have a number of ladies who have Hashimoto's. I'll try and find some of those testimonies, and I'm going to get videos out again today. But they've been able to, I wouldn't say reverse, but manage their Hashimoto's by addressing their insulin resistance. So levothyroxine, there are other more natural solutions for thyroid. The doctor that I'm going to be speaking with Tuesday, you might want to show up Tuesday night and hear what he has to say. There are some more specific types of thyroid based on your panels that they can give you compounded. Levothyroxine in itself, I don't really have a problem with, other than that for most of us, unless we're addressing the insulin resistance, and you have Hashimoto's, or which is typically going to be low for most people, it's hard to regulate that with levothyroxine in my experience. But if you're having a thyroid problem, one of the best avenues to address it is to address your insulin resistance. And I will do a video on how the thyroid and because I've been like, what am I going to talk about? I've been so overwhelmed with my own life lately. But that's a great thing for me to do a video on today. So look for that. I promise I'm going to work on it right now. I'm going to write it down so that when I'm done with this, I can get the proper information, so I'm not giving you misinformation, and give you a more complete video on thyroid and insulin resistance. But honestly, I would address the insulin resistance. How I did it was a system that is a tea that I drink in the morning, which I'm finishing up now, and a pre-meal drink that I drink before I eat anything. And why? This helps me burn fat for fuel. It helps me through a fast. It helps me have mental energy and clarity. It has antioxidant, anti-cancer activity in it, and it's just full of nutrients. So this tea doesn't break my fast, but it supports my body in getting through all of that. And it's great for fat burning. This helps slow down the glucose in my body so that it's not overwhelming me and spiking my insulin so high, so I can get my insulin under control. And that's what I did to control my low thyroid. Hey, Karen. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. You can get it in my profile right up top here. And if you click on my profile picture, there'll be a box that comes up. Click on the box. You'll be able to see my profile. Red lights in the profile. Click on that link. Do you guys want me to just show you? Does anybody want to see where to find it? Or should I answer other questions? Or so there, that's that. The system, you can just get it right from my profile link, and that's what I did to help mine. Somebody asked about PCOS earlier. Dr. Ovadia this morning, as I was listening to him talk, was brought up, and I always love it. Like, he's not the only doctor who said it. He's not the first doctor who said it. He's not the first time I've heard it, but it's always amazing to me, makes my little heart happy when I hear more and more doctors talking about it, that erectile dysfunction, low testosterone in men, and PCOS in women is just primarily a metabolic dysfunction disorder. I remember when I first started talking about it, people would get angry at me like, no, PCOS is genetic. No, science is showing that PCOS is a metabolic disorder. A metabolic disorder comes from dysregulation of the food and the nutrients that we're getting in our system. So if you want to address any of those things, address the food that you're getting in and the fact that our food is imperfect and flawed and we're not getting in everything we need. That's causing the insulin resistance. Get the sugar out of your diet as much as you can. Just hard truth, you guys. I'm not going to tell you you can go have ice cream and donuts every day and do all of that and get your insulin resistance reversed. Can you have it once in a while? Absolutely. But the main focus in your diet should be fiber, protein, and fats. Okay? So I will be back tomorrow morning at about 8 a.m. Tuesday night, and so I'm in Eastern time, by the way. I keep forgetting to say that. Tuesday night, about 8 p.m., I will be on with the doctor that I've been talking about. We're going to talk about deeper insulin resistance. We're going to talk about how to overcome that. We're going to talk about insulin resistance as a whole, metabolic health, and it's going to be a great evening to learn more about all of this stuff, including that thyroid that we were just talking about. So hop on, ask him those questions as well, and let's do this thing called getting your health back. You guys, there's no reason for us to be as sick as we are, and when we start understanding that we're being lied to by both of these industries and that it's really, they're making us sick and not making us better, and start taking matters into our own hands and doing what we know, because all of us know what it takes to be healthy. We're just not doing it. Maybe because we haven't found a sustainable way or a way that makes sense. Let's do that. Let's find that sustainable way. I'll see you guys in the morning, and I'm going to hop out. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll talk to you in the morning. Have a good one, you guys.